the studio at 572-9710 or WhatsApp 287-0971 or Reva. Office numbers are 572-0383 and 572-0215. Reva St. Lucia, the alpha of radio.
Join the United Workers' Party this and every Thursday on Rev Up St. Lucia 97.1 FM for an educational and informative program, Meet the Opposition. Participate in exciting discussions from 9 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. Be in the know every Thursday on Rev Up St. Lucia 97.1 from 9 a.m. to 10:30 a.m.
It's now time for Meet the Opposition, today hosted by Lenard Spider Montoute. Mr. Montoute, good morning. Welcome.
Morning. Good morning, Andre. Good morning to all our viewers and listeners in St. Lucia and in the diaspora. Welcome to another session of Meet the Opposition. For today, we're going to, in a moment, join the usual host, Nancy Charles. But I also want to inform you that we have a special guest today, whom we're going to bring on a little later, and that is Senator Dominic Fedee. And he is here to answer some questions that have been asked of him. Today we are hoping that we'll have a very interesting and informative program. But without further ado, I would like to bring on your usual host, Nancy Charles. Good morning, Nancy.
Good morning, Spider. Good morning, Andre, and good morning, St. Lucia. How are you guys doing?
Good morning.
We're doing fine, trying our best to do justice to Meet the Opposition in your absence.
Well, Spider, you've been doing a fine job. I try to listen every Thursday, so you're doing wonderful, right, Andre?
Of course. You could stay as long as you want. Away.
Nancy, don't worry if Andre always complains about the fact that you're not here.
I can figure that out. But it's a pleasure to be there this morning.
Yeah.
Let me say a special greetings to everyone. I do get a lot of messages, Spider. The people are asking me, when are you coming back? You know we love Spider, but we miss you, and so forth. So every opportunity that I get, I try to call in and to be there. So St. Lucia, I'm still here, and I still love you guys very much. But you'll see me soon.
So, Nancy, what is on your mind? Tell us.
Well, Spider, I thought this morning that, first of all, let me wish St. Lucia happy independence. I know we will be celebrating Independence 46. Is it 46? I hope I'm correct.
Yeah, I think that's a 46 independence. Yeah.
And I thought that with the celebration of independence, Spider, to look at I saw a notification from the Prime Minister, actually, that he would be addressing the nation. And I know customarily Prime Ministers would address, the nation prior to independence, give a nice motivational speech, something to look forward to. And so I decided to listen. And lo and behold, the Prime Minister came and spoke about the issue of the back pay and $40-something million injecting into the economy. I thought perhaps you as well would be able to break down and explain to St. Lucians what does the back pay mean, and even to go a little bit further back, Spider, in terms of our negotiations during our tenure and how it was that under the Alan Chastanet administration, for the first time in the history of St. Lucia, we were able to negotiate not only a prior period, but we also negotiated a 3-year triennium in advance. I don't know if I've said the term correctly, but perhaps you can correct me.
Yeah, you're quite right. And so the whole idea behind that was to, provide the people with the opportunity for prior planning, so they could plan in advance. That was in itself a contract. They could have gone to the bank to secure funds and letting the bank know that as of next year, so and so will be the case. I will be earning so much and so on, which would enhance their chances of, securing funding that they're looking for and so on. So there were benefits to that. And also, of course, it provided government with the opportunity to plan in advance as well, And so, because normally what happened is that the negotiations were always behind schedule, and then government would have to find a lump sum to pay back pay and so on. Now, you heard the Prime Minister talked about back pay. It is really money that are owed to the people. So it's not as if he did them a favor and he was so nice and so kind and he loved the public servants so much. It is money that was owed to the public servants that was paid to the public servants. So when you see politicians parading and trying to make political mileage of those things, you have to try to understand the true picture, and that is why people don't trust politicians, and that's why people see politicians as liars and deceivers. And so at the end of the day, I understand what he's trying to do. I mean, elections are approaching, so he's trying to, in the face of all the negatives that are going on, to try to paint a rosy picture about what is happening in St. Lucia and how he gave public servants back pay, and he put so much money in the economy and all of that. And he better be careful that the public servants do not ask for interest, because when you owe the bank, you have to pay back with interest. So at the end of the day, he wasn't doing any favor to them. Yeah.
I think it's very important for St. Lucians to understand, because I was following on social media. I've looked at some of the posts on social media, and like you said, I do not want our St. Lucians to remain ignorant of certain facts and important information. So I really want St. Lucians to understand that every time it comes for salary negotiations, public servants in general have had to be playing, begging, doing all kinds of things with government after government to ensure that they can be compensated fairly. And so what Alan Chastanet and his administration was able to do was to ensure that you were able to get your pay raise when it was due. Not that you had to be negotiating, fighting and begging and doing everything for something that really was due to you. And so when Philip J. Pierre administration came into office, they found an already negotiated package in advance. All they had to do, Spider, was to start negotiations immediately, to continue along that trend, and to ensure that when the triennium period ended, that they would have already secured a package, so people would not have had to wait for a salary increase. They did not do that. They could not even accomplish that. They allowed for taxes. Remember, they put in that 2.5% levy. They allowed for inflation. They allowed for the increase in the price of fuel. And all this time, public servants had to be absorbing those expenses at their own expense, on their own meager salary. And then you waited 3 years for you to negotiate their salary. And now you want to come on television to say, oh, well, I've paid them $40 million in back pay and I've given them a pay increase. But as far as I'm concerned, Spider, I don't know if you would agree with me, to me that 2%, that has already dissolved and disappeared, because the amount of money and the cost on the high cost of living that public servants have had for themselves to absorb, I don't even think that pay increase makes sense.
Well, Nancy, you have to remember that when the salary negotiations took place, cost of living wasn't what it is now. There was no 2.5% on goods and services, which has made things more expensive and caused the inflation to go up. And so, in effect, the 2% that they were getting would have been negated by the fact that government has taken it back from the 2.5% that they imposed on us, So really and truly, all the song and dance really is about nothing,
It's just about that. Then you now have an issue, because I don't know if you remember, Spider, when the Prime Minister first announced that salary increase, he indicated that all the unions had agreed to that salary, because he was so excited to announce a 13% salary increase. And then everybody was like, 13%, where does that come from? It was 13% over a 6-year period.
Right. And he made a song and dance about it as well, as if it's a big deal. But
yes.
The UWP administration back during the term of 2006-2011, we gave a 14% increase over a 3-year period.
That's correct.
So it was double what he gave there. So I don't know.
The United Workers' Party has always, if you look at all the records, United Workers' Party has always been the government that has treated public servants the best. Whether when it came to salary negotiations, whether it came to fringe benefits, whether it came to everything else to do with the public service, UWP has always treated them better.
And mind you,
with the police.
I want to talk about treating the workers. Mind you, we didn't shove anything down their throat, We went through the negotiations. There was an agreement between the government negotiating team and the unions on what the final agreement would be. But here we have where the government, the Prime Minister is making pronouncements while negotiations are still going on with some of the unions. You know,
Can you imagine that?
a real dictatorship style thing, you know.
That is very disrespectful, and I think St. Lucians ought to see it for what it is. How is it possible that the Prime Minister is still negotiating with the police, and you still negotiating with some of the workers with the National Workers Union, and you have taken it on yourself to say, that cannot be right, Spider.
Exactly.
You cannot say to the people that mensu pavle, mensu vle, mili, and you just give it to them. You just throw it on the table and put it in their pocket. So whatever they want to do. That is the level of disrespect I think that the Prime Minister has for public servants, and especially the police, because I listened to him at the meeting in Babono and talking about if they think they're going to make me get in problems with the police. I said to myself, which day are you talking about, sir? Who is the day? It's the police officers that you are negotiating with. I don't know who's the day.
But you see, everything to the Prime Minister is partisan politics. Because I heard the Prime Minister address a gathering of police officers. I think it was at some training session or something. And you swear he was on the market step addressing a political meeting. The Prime Minister must make the distinction between when he's wearing the cap of the Prime Minister as opposed to when he's speaking as the political leader of the Labour Party. You know, and it was a pure, but the other side never did that for you. And, you're government. Behave as if you understand and you realize that you're in government, that you're Prime Minister. Be Prime Ministerial for a change, you know. And that's the thing. But, Nancy, before I move on from this, I just want to say my disappointment is that given the serious, crucial crises that we face with healthcare and with crime, the Prime Minister chose to address the nation and never said a word about it.
Can you imagine? I was going to get to that, Spider. Can you imagine that we have had so many things happening to St. Lucians, but it tells you what this government cares about, This government does not care about people. They don't care about the issues. They do not care about the fact that people are living in fear. Look at what happened down in the south. You can't take any little shortcut to go to your home. You don't know who's watching, who's waiting. People are just jittery. Look at what happened to the young lady. And I agree with Marcella when she said that the Prime Minister could not even Alana by name. He said the young lady. You understand? That's to show you the uncaring nature of these people. Not speak about that. Not speak about the high cost of living. For our 46 independence, I thought the Prime Minister would come on television and say, I've heard your cry. We will stop the 2.5% tax that we have put upon you, and we will reduce the cost of fuel to give St. Lucians a little reprieve. None of that. But you want to talk about the fact that you have withheld their money from them for 3 years, and finally when you're giving it to them, you want to make a big song and dance and say, I'm giving you back pay. What is back pay? Back pay is money that you were owing to me and that you now pay in, and like you said, Spider, they should pay them with interest.
At the end of the day, Nancy, the Prime Minister probably has not fully appreciated his role as Prime Minister, and he talks about he cares. But you see, that's typical of the St. Lucian Labour Party. They say one thing, they tell you one thing, but they show you something differently. He says he cares, but he shows and demonstrates that he actually does not care. And in life, you have to go by people's actions, not by their words. Because as the saying goes, actions speak louder than words.
Very much so, very much so. So another thing as well, Spider and Andre, that I thought was very important, because you see, and especially in light of crime, I see my good friend Irvin Springer has indicated on social media that he will be doing, perhaps looking and taking a closer look at Jeremiah Norbert, who's the minister responsible for crime prevention, who you find coincidentally all of a sudden has found his voice in Spider. All of a sudden, when there is a murder, he comes out and makes a little statement. But we had not heard anything from him in the last 3 years. So like you rightly say, election is coming. Everybody is trying to, bring up the rhetoric.
Yeah, but Nancy, I want to say to Jeremiah Norbert, it's all well and good to come and express your condolences and your sympathies like everybody else after the fact. But you are the Minister of Crime Prevention.
That's right.
Okay, so tell us what you have done to date to prevent any crime? That is what we want to know.
Well, I think I will leave him, because maybe perhaps if we are the ones criticizing him, Spider, people may say, oh, it's political, you all are politicians, you all UWP, you all don't like the man. I will leave him for the regular St. Lucians who can see, because I always know that St. Lucians are smart and intelligent, you know. I will leave him for the regular St. Lucians who can see, and they have started already playing some of the interviews of Jeremiah, who seems to be confused about his role. He's not even too sure what he's supposed to do as the Minister for Crime Prevention. Because in my mind, because you are Minister of Crime Prevention, you should be taking preventative actions, right? You should be doing things that would deter people from committing criminal activities. So I am waiting for him to show and to tell St. Lucians what he has done, like you see, and what he continues to do. But in addition to that, Spider, I really wanted to go back to the issue of Jeremiah's ungratefulness and the fact that a couple of weeks ago, Jeremiah denied both him and Philip J. Pierre that any assistance was extended to him in light of him going to Martinique for medical treatment. And not only that, but the fact that he even denied that that Philip J. Pierre had reached out to Alan Chastanet to provide assistance. So that was the key issue, you know. The key issue was Jeremiah came on the platform and said, Alan Chastanet di Philip J. Pierre kouye ek di ko sa pou isa ba mwen assistance ou kwe sa ou kwe Philip J. Pierre jeme kouye Alan Chastanet. That's what he said. He was denying the fact that there was any discussion or conversation between Philip J. Pierre and Alan Chastanet. I think it's unfortunate, viewers, that we cannot show you the letter, but I think we will post it on social media. But Andre, can you confirm that I have sent you a letter that was signed by the permanent secretary at the time, dated 17th of February?
Yes, I can confirm that. Yes.
Before you go any further, Nancy, I just want to point out the 17th of February of what year?
The 17th of February, 2021.
That, by the way, is the exact day that Jeremiah was involved in his accident.
Okay.
Okay, I just wanted to point that out.
Very good. Because that would have been the same day that they were doing, was it an island-wide bike riding thing, the bike riders that they were doing,
right,
and so forth? Right. So the letter is dated the 17th of February, 2021. St. Lucia, we can share it so you can see it afterwards, but I just wanted to ensure that Andre could confirm that it is a signed letter, not a letter without a signature. And it was addressed to the French authorities, indicating that the government of St. Lucia will accept full responsibility for any expenses that would have been incurred in the transition of Jeremiah going over to Martinique. So again, St. Lucia, I just want to show you that when we say things, nou pa ka just di bagay because nou vle di bagay, nou pa ka menti. Sa nou ka di simplicite le Jeremiah tombe an le bike la. Pate tan Jeremiah te St. Jude, l'hôpital St. Jude. Dr. Gail Ribobert, Alan Chastanet, Mary Isaac, French Embassy St. tout moun ha ka pale, lete ha fet, tout airport te ka ouve, tout bagay te za en place pou voye Jeremiah Martinique because gouvernement simplicite kay pou responsable pou li. What transpired after that is another thing because he stayed in St. Lucia longer than expected. He went to Tapio and a few days later then he went to Martinique and I suppose some of his insurance kicked in, etc. But the point is, what you see is a caring government in Alan Chastanet, Gail Rigaud, Mary Isaac, Spider, Guy, all the ministers who were there, that he was an opponent. I want you to remember he was a named candidate for the Labour Party in the Micoud North constituency. So we knew he was an opponent, but yet still the government did not care whether he was an opponent, whether he was UWP, Labour or whatever. All we cared about was you had this young man who had his whole life ahead of him, his career ahead of him, and he was in need of medical attention, and that the government of St. Lucia was willing to provide that medical attention.
Nancy?
And yet still that man can come on a platform and lie to the people of St. Lucia.
Nancy, excuse me, I just need to ask you something. When I look at the letter, it's CC'd to the chief medical officer and also to the accountant at the Department of Health, right?
That's right.
In retrospect, don't you think that that should have been CC'd to Mr. Jeremiah as well?
No, because you see, what happens, and Spider, perhaps you can explain it a bit better, being a government minister. But remember, it is an internal government document that the government of St. Lucia or the Ministry of Health is saying, we will be taking responsibility for X, Y, and Z. And so they are informing the appropriate authorities, and that would be the Accountant General and so forth, so that when the bill eventually comes, that they would not be queried, where did this bill come from, why do we have this bill, etc. So the prerequisite has already been done, they have already been informed, so that when the invoices would come, they would know how to deal with it accordingly, because they would have documentation to substantiate why they have to pay this bill. Am I correct, Spider?
Yeah, you are correct. But then communication would have taken place with the leader of the opposition by then to inform him of what was being done, so that he would have known that that was interesting. And why that is important is because even if at the end of the day it was his insurance that paid, or he paid, or whoever paid, it was important that there be some guarantee, because the insurance would not be paying ahead of time. But just like with Tapillon and with those private hospitals, you have to pay ahead of time. You know, and that reminds me of a case where a visitor, I was told, was robbed in Rodney Bay last night. Okay, and actually the leader of the opposition, no less, driving alongside the man in the road, bleeding and all that kind of thing, called the police and so on. You know, they picked him up, eventually took him to Tapillon. Tapillon did not deal with him, because the man lost his wallet, which had his card and everything else, so he didn't have money. So they had to take him to OKEU. So I'm just saying that to explain to you that even if you have all the money you have, you overseas, Nancy, it might be overseas, but at the time you cannot show that you're going to pay. But when a government letter comes to you saying that, if anything, we'll take responsibility, that paves the way for him to be accepted, and nothing, and whatever arrangements would kick in later.
But, Mr. Montoute, you're saying that he would have been informed by the leader of the opposition at the time?
That's correct.
Well, you're hoping that
I'm hoping so. I'm hoping so. But in any case, he was in contact with the leader of the opposition and his other members. He admitted that they would have been telling him what arrangements are being made, and even if not, with the debate going on, okay, right now, he could have found out exactly what the situation was before he come and say categorically that there was no assistance, and we didn't facilitate anything, we didn't pay anything, and so on. And that there was no conversation between the leader of the opposition and the then Prime Minister,
Agreed.
So it is clearly a case of dishonesty, which was uncalled for, totally unnecessary. And that is what matters for me. You see, the gratitude thing, I have learned not to look for gratitude in politics, so that doesn't matter to me. But the honesty, that has to do with character, that has to do with integrity, and that is where I was disappointed.
Speaking of character and integrity, I do want to ask a few questions, because we spoke about the insurance, and it was the insurance that Jeremiah was the one who spoke a few weeks ago and showed that it was his insurance company, quote unquote, that covered the cost of his care in Martinique. So I also want to ask a few questions, because my information is that it was the Police Welfare Association. There's an insurance that police officers have within the Police Welfare Association. And this is that insurance, because remember, Jeremiah was a police officer. And that is the insurance that kicked in to pay his medical expenses. Now, Andre, you and I both know that when you are involved in a vehicular accident, the insurance, that whether you have medical or life insurance or whatever, in most instances, the insurance that kicks in almost immediately is your vehicular or the motor insurance. They are the ones responsible, because your vehicle, you have insurance, whether it's comprehensive, third party or whatever, the vehicle is insured, and when something happens, the police takes a police report, it goes through the process, and the motor vehicle insurance takes care of your expenses. Are we agreed on that?
You're right.
So my information, and that is what I want Mr. Jeremiah to answer. My information is that the bike Jeremiah was riding on was not insured. Now, I don't know if that is true or if that is not true. And so I would like to ask the question this morning, and I'm hoping that we can get this matter, because these allegations and rumors has been circulating from the time of his accident. So if we are now coming to clear everything, we coming to clear that Alan Chastanet didn't pay my bill. We coming to clear Alan Neff spoke to Philip J. Pierre. We coming to clear all these things. Let us clear that part as well. I would like Mr. Jeremiah Norbert to come out and clear the air about the rumors that are circulating, that the bike that he was riding, and he was a police officer, so he knows the law, that the bike he was riding was not insured. And if that is not the case, and if it is that the bike was insured, I saw him waving papers and saying that this is the bill the insurance paid. I want him to wave papers and show this is the insurance on the bike that I was riding. My bike was insured. And if that is the case, I also think we deserve an explanation as to why was the motor vehicle insurance not the one that kicked in to cover the cost of his medical expenses, because that's what should have been kicked in. Why was it the Police Welfare Association insurance that kicked in? So I'm a little bit confused about it. I don't understand it. And I would like Jeremiah to come out and to clarify that, because we want to know. He's the Minister for Crime Prevention, Andrew and Spider. He's the one who's supposed to set the tone. He's the one who's supposed to set the example. And I don't think that these rumors and allegations should still be circulating, that it must be clarified. Was he riding a bike that was uninsured? And we also ask about the second person involved in the accident, because it was not by himself. I think he was involved with another individual. Was that person's bike insured? What happened? Who covered, who covered the cost? And I think there's information circulating that there's also a matter between Jeremiah and the gentleman, one taking him to court, etc. It's a whole hule-mele. But I think that he certainly have to give an explanation. Was he on police duty at the time? Had he resigned from the police forces yet? And if he wasn't on police duty, why was it that it was the Police Welfare Association insurance that kicked in?
No, but Nancy, before you go further, Nancy, based on my information, there is a transition period that is in effect. For example, if you are a member of the police insurance, not the one that Alan Chastanet's administration put in place, where if a police dies, he gets 500. His family, sorry, not he. His family would get, or he or she, the family would get $500,000 if the police dies in the line, is killed in the line of duty. If it is just a normal death, I think they get about $100,000, $160,000. But there was this other insurance company, I think, through their union, okay, that was negotiated through their union. That provides you, see, for example, you leave the police force. There's a transition period, so between the time you leave and maybe get another job or get a new insurance coverage and so on, there's a period, okay, of overlap where I don't know if it's 3 months, what exactly the period is, within which, and if that is the case, he would have been within that period, so he would have still gotten coverage. So even if he had resigned to become a candidate, it would have been a recent thing, so he would have still been eligible to be covered by the insurance.
And Spider, these are the reasons we're asking those questions here this morning, because we certainly, I think it's time to put this matter to rest. It's time for Jeremiah to come out and to explain now. I think he's now fully recovered. He's done whatever it is he needed to do. I remember right after the elections, he indicated he would not have taken the ministry because he needed to go overseas, I think somewhere in Europe, for therapy and to put a prosthetic leg, etc. I think he's fully recovered, the trauma of it, which the gentleman in Miku didn't have that opportunity. But he's recovered, and I think the St. Lucian public, because you see, the Integrity in Public Life Act mandates certain things. And if people are asking those questions, and not only that, the critical position that the minister holds, crime prevention, because these are the little things, they say it's the little foxes that spoil the vine. We need to know what exactly transpired. So I don't want him to come and give me no kulumutu and try and confuse. I want the answers to be answered very clearly, Andrew. Were you a police officer still when you were riding the bike? Were you on duty or not? Had you resigned from the police force? That is important. Secondly, was the bike that you were riding insured? If it was, we would like to see, just like you showed your bills and who paid it, we would like to see a copy of the insurance document that showed that the bike was insured. Thirdly, why is it that it was the police welfare insurance that kicked in and not your motor vehicle insurance that kicked in, as is customary in vehicular accident, etc.? These are some of the questions I think we need answered. I don't know if you agree with me, Andrew and Spider, but for me, I think certainly I need those questions answered.
Although Nancy, we get information that normally in a motor vehicle accident, the driver is not normally covered unless he has extra
comprehensive
personal coverage, and so if the other driver or rider is at fault, then it is that person's insurance that would have to be liable. So I don't know. But anyway, it's for him to clear the air on that, and
Agreed.
I'm big on, public officials answering questions when it is of concern to the general public. So it's incumbent on him now to come out and clear the air.
Well, I agree with you. And speaking about that, Spider, I think a few weeks ago, both yourself and I think myself sometime last year would have also mentioned it in terms of public officials answering questions. Now, I went through the effort of getting 2 videos, Spider, so that the St. Lucian public can understand. Sometimes when we ask a question, and it's important, I say that on the program every time, that when we are in opposition, we have to be mindful. What is it we are saying? What are some of the issues and concerns we are raising? Because it cannot be one standard for one and one standard for another. We agree on that, Spider?
Yes, that's correct.
It has to be across the board. So if something is wrong, it is wrong. If it is right,
so
it is
so
right.
it means, Nancy, while you and I are asking the government officials to come out and answer questions, our officials have to answer questions too. They are
That's
public
correct.
figures as well,
That's correct.
But I'll come
Agreed.
to that later.
Okay, we'll come to that later.
Yeah.
But Andrea, if you don't mind, because I do want another public official to answer questions, because these questions have not been answered. I sent you 2 videos. Can you play the first video so St. Lucians can hear? Because this is the premise on the questions that we will be asking.
Sure, no problem.
If you entered politics, and let's say you had a minibus, and within that term of office, Mr. Speaker, you found yourself with what? A plane? No. And you found yourself within that term of office, you find yourself with a 4-story building with an elevator. And when you entered office, everybody can see what you entered office with. Use me as an example. Everyone see what I entered office with. I still live the same place. That's what I entered office with. Anybody can see. But if you enter, and after 4 years, before you were there, you had a minibus. And because you know how to use money, after 4 years, Mr. Speaker, you have these vivid signs of wealth. Somebody should ask you, where did you get that money from?
The bill outlines the eligibility.
Interesting.
So Spider, you heard what the Prime Minister said?
I'm happy that it came from the Prime Minister. And I will tell you, it's not everything that the Prime Minister says that I agree with. I fully agree with him. I fully agree with him.
And this was not 5 years ago, St. Lucia. This was just, I think, about a year and a half ago. The Prime Minister made those statements in Parliament. He was Prime Minister at the time, just about a year and a half ago, when he brought to Parliament the Special Prosecutor Bill. You all remember that?
Right.
He
Just
came
before
with
the
a song
appointment
and
of the
dance.
Special Prosecutor, yeah.
That's right, so that we could appoint a special prosecutor. And I am very pleased with the explanation that the Prime Minister gave. That if you come into office, and let's say you had minutes, and I think everybody in St. Lucia knows who he was trying to target when he said that. because that's what they do. You see, they always pointing one finger at one individual, but never realizing, Spider, that when you point one finger at an individual, there are about 4 fingers pointing right back at you. All right?
Yep.
So, I want to say that with Mr. Kenson Casimir, and if we use the explanation that the Prime Minister gave, so I want to be very careful, and I want to say it very slowly, and Spider, you can help me as well. Everybody in Grosley knew, or it was alleged, that Kenson Casimir came into public office ibate mem ni o minibus. Okay? Ibate mem ni o minibus. I think there was a lot of rumors during the campaign, and I don't want to say that it was true, but you know, sometimes when things, you know, a wrong time like that, people uncover all kind of little things. Some things are true, some things are true. There was also rumors that he had issues with his child maintenance, etc., and so forth. Whether it was true or not, I don't know, and I'm not going to say yes or no. But these things were floating all around. But what it suggested was that he was not well off. He didn't have much. We knew Kenson was a reporter. He was doing the sports news, I think, for one of the television stations. And you know these things don't pay much, Andrew. You've been in the media, you know that for a while.
I'm glad you know that.
A little $3,000 or whatever. and he was also a junior minister of sports. He was a youth and sports officer, at the ministry. So I think the level he was at, he was probably making about $4,000. Nothing more, nothing less. So he wasn't well off. He didn't have a minibus like some people came. And by the way, the people that they were alleging or he was trying to point fingers at had more than one minibus. Okay? Just for simplicity, but we'll not go there. All right? So, all of a sudden, we have documents, because he has not denied that he purchased the property. We have documents to show that Kenson Casimir purchased a property. Now let's look at the dishonesty of Kenson Casimir. Kenson Casimir suggested in his press conference, and we have another video to show you where he said it, not me. I always try, St. Lucia, to show you what they say, not me. We have a video where Kenson Casimir said or suggested, because he never said I took a loan, but if somebody took a loan, etc. He's suggesting that he took a loan to buy the property. That is not true, Andre. You know why I said that is not true? Because the documents showed that the property, he paid $273,650 for the property. I want you to remember that. $273,000 is what he paid for the property. Now, you know when you buy land, Andre, Spider, you know that. And if you took a loan to buy the land, there's something that they call a caution. A caution is put on the property because technically the property does not belong to you until you have paid off the loan. The property belongs to the financial institution that you took the loan for. So that is how we know that Kenson took a loan, a partial loan, to purchase the property. So at the back of the land documents, you will see that he took a loan for $177,000. Okay? With the CSA Credit Union, or they call it Jano Credit Union now. So he took a loan for the 177. It's right there. These are the facts. So the question we want to ask Kenson, which he never answered, was the land cost $270,000. You took about $170,000. Now, Spider, you would appreciate if you go to the bank to get a loan, most of the time you need a security, don't you?
Yeah, you need to deposit something, yeah.
You need a deposit. Now, sometimes when it comes to land, depending on the promotion, they tell you, you don't need no deposit, so the land is used as deposit. That happens as well. Mm-hmm. So let's assume in the case of Kenson, he didn't need a deposit. The land was used as deposit. So There's a difference of a $100,000 that was paid to the owner of the land to purchase the land. And if Kenson wants to be honest, we want him to answer the question. Where did that $100,000 in cash come from?
So you want to know if he's very good at saving, right?
Maybe. Did he have savings of 100,000, Spider?
Yeah. Pardon?
Did someone make a donation of $100,000 to him to purchase the land? Did his family, some friend, I don't know, borrow him the money in cash, or he got it as a? Did he get a grant for $100,000? Did somebody make a campaign contribution for $100,000? You understand? I don't know, but I think as a public official, if you're coming out to say and to suggest you took a loan, in fact, somebody told me the correct terminology is not a caution but a charge against the land.
Yeah, the institution, the financial institution would have a lien on the property.
Yes, it's called a charge. A lawyer just sent me a message to say it's called a charge on the property. So I think, Spider, that let's be very clear that Kenson must account. That's number one, because there's more to follow. He must account and tell us where did the difference of the $100,000 come from. That's number one. Okay? So you took a loan, yes, but it was not a full loan. You took a loan for $170. The land was valued at $270. There's a $100 cash difference that you paid. Where did the money come from? We want to know. And we have a right to know. Secondly, that same property that he purchased, there are condos. There's about 4 or 5 condos that is currently being built on that property. So it seems to suggest that the property is being developed. And that costs money, Spider. You have to have money to purchase the condos, to build them, to, whatever. Where did the money come from? Because we know where part of the money came from to buy the land. Now we have a right to know where did the money come from for you to purchase and build and develop the property, that there are 5 condos on the property. These are the things that politicians must understand, that if we are going to talk about integrity in public life, you're going to accuse everybody. And the Prime Minister was the one who said it, remember? The Prime Minister said, if you come with one minibus, and everybody know you had one minibus, and 4 years later you have a apartment with elevator, the public has a right to know where you get them from. He said that.
And let's just be clear.
Honorable Philip J. Pierre must ask that question.
Let's be clear. Let's be clear, Nancy. It may be that your parents, you inherited property that I don't know about, because I wasn't there. I can't see that. We probably don't know your salary, but it is for you to clear the air on that, because if you said he was in the media, if you're a senior person like Andre, maybe your salary is much higher. We don't know,
right.
So Andre can tell us if they're getting so much money that you can do all of those things. I know what the salary of a youth and sports officer is, because I was one. I know what the salary of a minister is, because I was one. And at the end of the day, let's be real. You're not Dan Rather. You're not any of those guys. So unless that media house was paying you an exorbitant amount. So, and even then, there's what we call an integrity commission that was not constituted for almost 1 year, which is against the Constitution, by the way. So I'm just letting you know that your Prime Minister was flouting the Constitution, no less, by not appointing one. There was, by right, you are supposed to declare anything, and because I hear you talk about somebody gave you a contribution and so on. Nancy, as a public official, a minister in particular, you must declare anything someone gives you above $500. Okay. So if I give you a little $100, that's no big deal. But if you get anything valued over $500 or more, or I will give you cash value $500 or more, you must declare that. Now the investigation is for the integrity. After he declares, the Integrity Commission must investigate now to determine. Okay, so he said the $100,000 Nancy gave it to him. Did you declare that? So That's why you have to be honest, because the investigation will reveal the reality. And I think these are legitimate questions. These are fair questions. Especially, and you know what? There's so much said about politicians, so much negatives about politicians. It's important that politicians show and prove to the general public that they are above board. So when people start asking those questions, come out and clear the air. And that applies to your politicians, so I would remind you of that.
Oh, I agree, Spider, and that's why I started out on a precursor to say it's a rule that applies to all. And I do have to say one of the things, even when we were in government, most of our government ministers, and I have to say to St. Lucia, I did not intend to say that, but Guy Joseph was one of those politicians every single year. He filed his returns with the Integrity Commission. If you go and look at the list that would have been printed in the newspapers, you never saw the name of Guy Joseph on that list as a public official who did not file his returns with the Integrity Commission. Every year he did that. But yet still you have people who are within this current Labour administration who are going around the tree, they're going underneath the tree, they're going below the tree, and not answering the questions at the forefront of what the issue is. So again, Spider, I want to take this opportunity to again ask the question of Mr. Kenson Kazmi. You said you took a loan. We know it was not a full loan to pay for the land. There was a difference of $100,000. You need to say to the public, because you see, Kenson came out and make it seem as it was such a bad thing that UWP had his business out there. But you're a public official, and you've said that before, Spider. Public officials are accountable to the public. You have no private business when you're a public official. Is that not so, Spider?
That's correct. And it's a simple thing. Just come and clear the air.
Just come and clear the air.
Yeah.
But there's a third issue that I want him to clear the air on as well, because information reaching me, and I want to be very clear, I don't know if it is true or not, I would like him to clarify that he has also purchased a property in Boseju, which is house and land. There's a lot of rumors circulating about it. People send me little documents I don't know if it's authentic or not, so I will not show it. But I think when he comes to clear the air about this property in Cape State, when it comes to clear the air about where the money for the condos came from, how he got the money to build the condos, did he go for a second loan now or whatever, if in partnership with somebody, what is going on? I also want him to clear the air to deny or to say yes, that he has also purchased property in Boseju, house and land, and my information that is not in his name, it's in a family member name.
Now, Nancy, I am not here to answer questions for Kenson Kazimi or to defend Kenson Kazimi. But, I am not on the level of Andre Paul, Rick Wayne, and Timothy Polio. But, I just started dabbling in a little media work. I have a talk show, and so, I watch those guys closely. So I'm in the business of investigating as well. So I can tell you, from my investigations, he did not purchase that property you're talking about. Okay, there was a deposit paid on the property. Okay, and I don't know because if it's because I cannot say that's speculation. If it's because you all started talking, he backed out of the deal. All right. He had made a deposit on it. He had made a deposit, and he can come and clarify or deny. He had made a deposit on it, but he did not purchase that property. So I can tell you, because you see, and the reason why I'm doing so is because I can tell you all of what you're saying there. He would latch on to that and say, well, they can't say our property in Bosses, you have no problem. And he'll spend an hour talking about that and not deal with the real issue. The real issue is, Kenson Kazimi, you are a minister of government, you are a public official. People are concerned about your accumulation, your meteoric accumulation of wealth in the last 3.5 years. People have questions about it. Allay their concerns, clarify the situation, clear the air, come out and explain to people how you came by your newly found wealth. Simple as that.
Agreed.
Okay, and I am not about to say that you have done anything untoward, that there's anything illegal about what you got, but give us the assurance. And I was involved in elective politics too, and we who are involved in politics must play our part in cleaning up the names. I was about to say good name. Not all politicians have good names. clearing up the name of politicians, because we have done a lot to sully the name of politicians and to give a bad image to politics as well. So it is incumbent upon him to do so. It is a requirement.
Well, as Spider, all I can say is that it takes a politician, it takes us politicians, I say us because I am considered to be one.
Well, you contest election already, Nancy, so you are a politician.
Yes. So it takes us politicians as well to be able to clear the names of politicians. And how do we do that is by us coming out upfront, being open, being honest, and ensuring that we have integrity in everything that we do.
And let people know that it is not everything they hear about politicians that is true. So come out and clear the air, debunk the lies. If it is a lie, you know.
I think that is one of the things, Spider, for independence that I wish that we would be able to get as we go along. And to be fully independent is to be fully accountable.
Okay. So, Nancy, I guess you got off your chest the matters that you wanted to highlight, and I'm hoping that if the minister is not listening, that his people, they do monitor the talk shows on their behalf, and they have all kinds of PR people. They have taken up 90% of the media and placed them in their ministries and so on. So please pass on the message to him. Tell him it's overdue. It's past due for him to come and clear the air on this matter. But Nancy, as I move on, are you through now?
Am I what?
Are you through?
Yes, I'm through.
Okay, so I want to wish you a very good day. It was indeed a pleasure. You know, I see Andre already losing his smile because he realized I'm about to say goodbye to you. You know, it was indeed a pleasure having you on the program. And, you know, I'm hoping that for the balance of the program, we'll do justice to it. Because I will tell you before you leave, you came this morning asking questions of Jeremiah. You came this morning asking questions of Kenson Kasimi. Well, you know what? Talking about clearing the air, I have one of your politicians, or should I say our politicians, meaning he is a member of the opposition, and so I brought him on Meet the Opposition because there was a question asked of him, and I have not heard him clear the air. And I believe that it is about a week now or so, or more than that. It is about time that he clears the air. And I told him straightly,
very well,
you are coming here, just like we're asking the members of government to clear the air, you are coming here. So in case our listeners are wondering what I'm talking about, just hold on a minute. After I say goodbye to Nancy, I will explain to you what the question was, and I have here the individual who I am going to ask to clear the air on the matter. And I'm hoping...
Tell him I say he looks pretty in pink, Spider.
Oh, he looks pretty in pink. He's hearing you. He's hearing you. He's hearing you. Okay, so have yourself a good day, Nancy. And,
you too, guys. Thank you so much.
Thanks for your contribution.
I'll continue to watch online. Thanks.
Okay, then.
Thank you.
So, Andre.
Yes.
I have here with me the deputy political leader of the United Workers' Party, a former parliamentary representative for Ancillary Canaries, a former minister of tourism, etc. Was it aviation as well? Oh no, former minister of tourism,
information and broadcasting,
broadcasting, and culture, all of those things. So, Andre, that makes him a public figure. More than that, currently, he is a parliamentarian. He's a senator, an opposition senator. I heard a government minister, no less, asking a question of him. And just to put the matter into context, Richard Frederick, on his talk show, said that Dominic Fedee, while parliamentary representative for Ancillary Canaries, embarked upon a fundraising effort to purchase an ambulance for Canaries. And according to Richard, he got contributions from the private sector. He got contributions from the Canaries UK Association.
You say he, referring to whom?
Dominic Fedee, who was the parliamentary rep, got contributions from the Canaries UK Association, and he had a big fundraising activity at Royalton, which was successful. And he wants to know, where is the money? WTF, where are the funds? Because there is no ambulance, Andre, that was purchased. Okay? Now, it doesn't matter who asks the question. Once you are a citizen of St. Lucia, you have the legitimacy to ask the question if it is a concern of yours. The reality is my investigation has revealed that no ambulance was bought. So, Andre, Dominic is my partner. He's my colleague. But just like we're asking questions of others, when questions are asked of us, I am insisting that you have to clear the air. So I brought Dominic. Afterwards, he can go into anything else he wants to. But the reason why I brought Dominic here this morning, Andre, is because I feel it is about time that he clears the air. And Dominic, I don't ever join Richard in anything that he do. But I too am asking you, WTF?
WTF.
Yeah.
Well, Spider, thanks for the opportunity. Look, the very first time I heard this claim that I would have somehow run away with these funds that I raised, I was on TV publicly saying to people that we were doing this, was by Gerard, the current MP. I found it strange that, first of all, the speaker would allow such garbage to fly without any substantive documents or the minister and the current MP saying, well, you know, I have checked at this institution or that institution and I wasn't able to find. But I went on because I thought we had bigger fishes to fry.
Okay, so for the benefit of my listeners, you are admitting that there was in fact a fundraiser.
There was a fundraiser,
okay.
yeah.
All right.
So then Richard Frederick now, after my my very, very strong, insistent opposition to some of the things that he has said, and my own claim for him to be accountable. Probably, my suspicion is he had a discussion with the MP of Ancillary Canaries, and because Richard did say on Newspin he was going to go to the archive and dig up whatever mud he can find in Dominic. So he would have had a chat with his buddy Wayne Gerard, and Wayne Gerard would have said, well, look, there was an ambulance fund and there's no ambulance.
But that's
no
speculation
problem.
on your part.
What's that?
That is speculation.
That is speculation on my part.
Okay, so let's get to the
But
facts.
Spider, for too long, we have been ignoring Richard. Richard tells a lot of lies. He knows it's a lie. And if you look at when he was presenting the information, he never came out and said, I stole the money. He said, WTF. He was asking a question.
Yeah.
Anyways, so I'm going to answer Richard.
Okay, but before you answer Richard, you were saying that Richard told a lie.
Oh, big lie.
So you're claiming that you're telling the truth.
Of course.
So one of you is telling a lie. I mean,
Richard Frederick.
Don't understand me. Andre, you agree one of them have to be lying.
100%.
Yeah.
Now, Andre, we can't just go by their words because Richard has said what he said. Dominic is saying what he's saying there right now. So give us some evidence that
Okay.
you're the one telling the truth.
So I did some digging, went back to my records, and I found this document, which is a document given to me by the former CEO of the St. Lucia Social Development Fund.
Okay, so let's put things in context.
Yeah.
Where does the St. Lucia Social Development Fund come into the picture?
The St. Lucia Social Development Fund, I thought at the time, was a reputable, accountable institution, SSDF, that had all the governance, the accounting infrastructure to collect the funds. And I thought that they could be more accountable than any community group or any of that stuff. I wanted to make sure that everything was done well and we can account for these monies and it was kept in a very safe place because you're dealing with donors.
Okay.
I went out there, I put my reputation on the line, and I said to all these companies which I'm about to list that, hey, come and support us. This is a very viable charity, a bona fide, legitimate charity. So come and give the support. So I felt we needed to do this properly.
So now that we are asking where the funds, so you didn't go to your home if you didn't put it in your bank account.
No.
You engaged the SSDF.
Correct.
No, I'm just taking it in stages because
and you were the minister of the SSDF at the time.
So you realize why I'm eager for you to clear the air.
Yeah. And you would have remembered that you and I had several discussions. I would have discussed it with you. I got your permission to use the SSDF as the institution to actually put all the funds through the SSDF. Anyways, so So the fund was a fundraiser. It was like a Sunday lunch at Royalton Hotel back in 2019. In 2019, we had this. We were supposed to have other fundraisers as well. But in 2020 of March, you know what happened, Andre. COVID came. We couldn't have those fundraisers. In 2021, we lost the election. But when we lost, this is what we left. So we raised a total of $58,007.65. The total expenditure, meaning the expenses, came up to $28,805, and that was monies paid to Royalton for the banqueting and for the food that we're giving to the people. That was the expense. And then we did, we had a balance at the St. Lucia Social Development Fund as
SSDF.
of SSDF as of January 2022. We had $29,202.65. Now, if Richard, Wayne Girard, and all of them that have made this claim would have easily checked the St. Lucia Social Development Fund, or SSDF, they would have found this money. It is there, Andre. They know it is there. I'm very disappointed that they would come and play politics with something like this.
When you say they, meaning who? When you say
Richard
they?
Frederick,
Okay.
Wayne Girard, the whole pack of
Well,
them.
I didn't hear Wayne Girard say
Wayne Girard said it in Parliament.
No, he did.
Said it in Parliament. So here are the companies that gave the money. So Invest St. Lucia, they bought a table. Concrete and Aggregate, they bought a table for the event. The National Insurance Corporation, Foster's and Inns, Joseph Shipping, Century Investment, Cox and Company, the Embassy of Taiwan, Flosac and Fleming and Associates, DCF, Exec and Leisure, Barron's Food, St. Lucia Tourism Authority, Bay Gardens Beach Resort, Caribbean Metals, Sandals Grand, Jane Duboulay, St. Lucia Distillers, Tikai Resort, Bellevue, St. Lucia, CPAL Holdings, SLHTA, Digicel, First Caribbean International Bank, C.O. Williams, and various other private individuals who bought tickets as well. All checks were written
I'll prefer
to...
if you don't name the individuals.
No.
Okay.
All checks were written to the SSDF. So the money is at the SSDF. It's now been 4 years that I have not been in government. If the current MP was interested in getting the people of Canaries an ambulance, he would have continued the effort that I have started to make sure that there's an ambulance. He has done not a single fundraiser towards this exercise. In fact, the CEO of the SSDF is from Canaries. He was a guy who I ran against, Mr. John Victorine. He should know very well that these monies are there as well. And, you know, this was just a perfect opportunity for the St. Lucia Labour Party to continue the good deed that we have started, so that by now the people of Canaries would have had a fun. Andre, I'm telling you, had it not been for COVID, we would have had a subsequent fundraisers in the ensuing years, so that we could have complete the purchase of the ambulance. But it wasn't possible because at the time, events, as you know, were outlawed in the country. So that is basically it. It's not a big deal. But Richard Frederick, Andre, I don't know if you've been following, but I have been asking him to account for his misdemeanors in politics, for all of the stuff that have been leveled against him, all of the cloud and suspicion that really surrounds his character, all of the things that he has been convicted for. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I mean, the list goes on and on and on and on and on and on and on. So this is basically Richard keeping to his promise. He said he would go to the archive, but his archive is very unreliable. Check with the SSDF. All the monies are there. I am not like you, Richard Frederick. I would never ever rob the people of my constituency of anything. I would never go out there and pick up funds from people and say that I'm using it for a specific purpose and not do it. Which is why, Andre, I didn't want any of the checks to be written to my name or to go to anyone or any community group, but I wanted it to go to a reputable government institution where there's the accounting infrastructure. That's how you govern a country. That's how you behave in public office. You leave no room for corruption or no room for anything untoward to happen.
I have a question.
Sure.
Since you're not in government, were you able to fact check to find out whether SSDF still has those funds there?
SSDF still has those funds there. I can confirm.
You can confirm that?
Yes. I mean, I read this as of 2022. Well, I got this. Yeah, I wasn't in government as of 2022. Okay, so they are responsible. We left it all there.
So where would Richard get this information that the money's
I
missing?
told you my suspicion is Wayne Girard. And Richard never said that the monies were missing. He said, where is the money?
Which
Well,
is
there's a
insinuation.
Yeah, exactly.
Implies,
It's an
yeah.
insinuation.
Right, and
But you have to be careful. I think that when someone comes and asks a question, especially a lawyer, he knows that if he comes out straight and make a statement, and the statement that he knows not to be true, he would never ever come out straight and make the statement, because you are a media person. You know that the libel and defamation laws apply. So he left himself an out to say, all I did was ask a question. But having recognized that people will automatically think, well, Dominic stole the money. That
Exactly.
was the point he was trying to
Well,
allude to.
I like to look at things from all angles, and I think that is a possibility, what Dominic says, but there are also other possibilities, Andre. How do you know that Richard is not trying to set up the Labour Party to bring them down and expose the guys to show that Wayne Girard didn't do anything, that Victorine, who was a former candidate for ancillary Canaries, is now the executive director at SSDF, and he has not done anything, and to show them up. That might be his intention, I don't know who he is trying to destroy more, whether it's you or the Labour Party. So, I don't know. I really don't know. Yeah.
So, Andre, this is my little bit on that. But I have a number of questions for Richard, which he has not answered.
Okay, so before we move on,
Yeah.
I really want to say that I want to thank Dominic for coming. He can deal with what he has to deal with afterwards, but I want to take this moment to thank him. This is what I want our politicians to start doing. And you're in, I say you are now, I'm not a politician anymore. You're in the UWP too. Because, I had to tell Dominic, you have to come and answer the question. You know why I did that? He probably would. But I know the habit of the UWP. By that I try and just ignore it, Andre. We cannot continue to do that. And at the same time, for the benefit of the public, clear all doubts. Come out and clarify the issue. And I'm happy that you have done that. I want to thank you for doing so. And I'm hoping that the other politicians will take example from what you have just done. Because you've just answered a question that I wasn't the one who asked the question, but of course it placed doubt in my mind as well. Although I knew better because I was the minister for SSDF. I know up to the time I left there was nothing untoward, but I don't know what happened after. But I'm happy that that is done because I have many other questions that I want public officials to answer, and I will continue to ask the question and expect them to do what Dominic has just done.
And these days you're under the microscope as well.
Well, yeah.
I hope you're aware of that. So if you're talking about clarifying and so on,
Well, tell
don't
me,
you think?
Andre, I'm prepared to clarify.
Well, there's some video making the rounds. It looks like they show on MBS, what's it called?
NBC.
NBC, sorry. NBC.
Oh, that station.
Yes, yes. And where I think some lady by the name of Mondesi or something like that is saying some things about you, not so nice things, as a matter of fact.
Okay.
So
It was brought to my attention. You're talking about Miranda Alexander. She is Nee Mondesi before she being married to Mondesi.
All right.
That's Keith Mondesi's sister. That says a lot already. Now, I really didn't want to engage or take her on, but again, if I'm saying that, you have to clear the ears.
Exactly.
So let's deal with the things that she said. I mean, because that's a clear attempt to launch an attack on me because of what I'm doing.
And so where's that coming from, by the way? Why is that coming up all of a sudden?
Well, I am exposing things about politicians, and Andre, I will say what I know. I will expose who has to be exposed and so on. So they're going to fire back by trying to put me on the back foot. Well, you know what? She says one of the main things she claimed And if there's anything else you want to ask me to, you can ask me. But from what I understand, she says that I am a racist and I hate white people. And to substantiate it, she says I hate Alan Chastanet. Now, let me just start by saying I'm no racist. I've never been a racist. I have a few very close friends. One of them is a German guy named Dieter Young. He's a very close friend of mine, a very good friend of mine. He has been to my home in St. Lucia on vacation at least 7 times. Okay? Now.
And he's white.
And he is a white man. Now, Alan Chastanet, in the first place, not a white man. Alan is a mulatto. His father is black, his mother is white. Okay? I have no issue with Alan on the basis of race. Alan and I have had differences, had nothing to do with race. And when I stated my difference or opposition, I gave my reasons which had nothing to do with race. Okay? Now, someone suggested to me it may have to do with the fact that I had an altercation at Marigo with a white man who owned the property. I said, well, you heard the altercation. There were a few not so nice words that Andre wouldn't want me to repeat on his radio station, but it had nothing to do with any racial slurs. You understand what I'm saying? The same thing I would have said to Andre, Dominic, or anybody who would come in my face the way the guy did. Okay? I mean, when I was a younger guy, more disciplined, when my mother had full control over me and so on, I would have said, man, Andre, I'm not afraid of you. Who you think you are? You understand what I'm saying? But the language was a little more flowery.
I remember the incident, yes.
Okay. That had nothing to do with race. It didn't matter to me whether he was white, black, blue, or brown. You understand what I'm saying? So I do not know where that is coming from, that whole race thing. So I'm letting her know now. I have no issues with any individual based on race, you know. And then she came and said that I said that nobody wants Richard. And I guess she felt sorry for Richard, so she came to defend Richard. Okay? And I said Compton did not want Richard, and I can substantiate that. Alan Chastanet, I don't have to substantiate it. There's evidence, obviously. Kenny has told us, you know. And by the way, before I go any further, Andre, I have to say so, you know. You have to give Jack his jacket, you know. And maybe you might say give Kenny his penny, you know. So I talked about, for example, we have to go back, and people like myself who were in the UWP, who I did not know much about Richard as a individual's background and everything like that. We were gung-ho because we saw Richard as this guy who can win the seat and so on. And I can tell you, I was there. Compton was put under a lot of pressure to accept Richard as a candidate. Okay, he knew what we did not know, and he had his reasons for not wanting Richard. Okay, we did not listen. We paid the price for that. Kenny Anthony, upon Richard's arrival in politics, said to St. Lucia that is the most frightening thing to have happened in the politics of St. Lucia. Do not forget, Kenny Anthony was the prime minister at the time. He knew what you and I did not know. Okay, and he had his reasons for saying so. Although I can still blame them and say, well, you all should have given me more details. You understand what I'm saying? But those gentlemen words have come back to bite us. You understand? Because St. Lucians did not listen. And I have to give Dr. Anthony some credit, because I've criticized him a lot in my political career, Andre, as an opponent. But you have to give credit where credit is due. It is my understanding, and that speculation, that Dr. Anthony has refused to sit in cabinet with Richard Frederick. Okay? And so that's why he didn't take a cabinet position. I cannot verify that. But I know for a fact that he has said that no money launderer, no drug dealer and all that will be part of a Labour Party cabinet. He said so. And you have to give him credit for that. That he never brought anyone during his time that he and his colleagues accuse of being any of those things. I cannot speak for the current Prime Minister, because he too was part of the allegations and accusations, but he handpicked someone that they accuse of being all of those things and have him in cabinet today. These are the things we have to look at, and that says a lot about a man's character and his integrity and his credibility when things like that happen. So you have to give credit. Even Stephenson King, although poor guy, he appears to be compromised, but he has made attempts to get rid of Richard too, you know. And I'm going to talk, you know, Andre, because I keep saying I had the privilege and good fortune of being very close to the front seat, you know, Andre. You know, I was the deputy political leader of the United Workers' Party. and I acted as Prime Minister on many occasions. Okay? Now, I mean, I have no legacy to talk about as far as that is concerned, except for Dominic and those guys, when in the last government did not want me to act because they said every time I acted there was some hurricane or storm. You know, and so they didn't want me to act. You know, but the point is, that placed me in a position to know a few things. And I have over the years begun to piece things together, start to make sense of a lot of things that I have found out and experienced, put together with what I have heard from people who know more than I do, like Dr. Anthony, like Sir John Compton. And so I've gotten to understand what is going on. And I'm going to give St. Lucia the benefit of that knowledge. And I'm saying that openly and clearly. I'm going to give St. Lucia, because we have to know when we are making choices, when we're making decisions, exactly what it is we're doing. The more information you have, the better the choice you make. And so, even Stephen King, you know, though he has faltered as far as that is concerned, has made efforts to get rid of Richard too. You know, don't fool yourself. You know, both of them have been hypocrites with each other. You know, because Richard has orchestrated some of the mutinies that took place against King, and King has been involved in trying to get rid of Richard. You know, because I want to say to you now, and I'm saying to all our listeners on Meet the Opposition this morning, that when Richard was arrested as a government minister of the United Workers' Party, that was an inside job. Okay? Now, sometimes, Andre, you find yourself in the middle of things. I mean, I remember it was Sir Julian Hunt who said to me one time, you know, when I made a comment, I was involved in that breaking glass in your ass business, said to me, boy, don't get involved in things you don't understand, you know. You don't understand politics. Now, there were some things I didn't understand for true, but I along the way, got to understand. I was acting Prime Minister, and all I'm going to say for now is that coincidentally, Stephen King was out of the island that day. Okay? Take it how you want. All right? Only to find out later that the Prime Minister, there was a certain powerful minister, and the Attorney General knew about the arrest of Richard Frederick. Okay? Richard Frederick called me as acting Prime Minister and asked me to come to the Grocery Day police station to have them to release him. As much as I did not know, I knew enough then to know that there was a separation of powers, and that there was the executive, which I was a part of, and the judiciary, and I was separate. I had no powers or authority there, and I was not in a position to go and ask them to release Richard Frederick. Now, unlike Philip J. Pierre, who will go to court to oversee and ensure that justice is done when one of his ministers is in court, I was not about to do that, because Richard Frederick was a colleague of mine, to go and ask the police to release Richard Frederick. Okay? Now, these are the things people do not know, right? And I'm telling you, Stephen King knew about it, right? I mean, Richard is probably finding that out now. But, you know, it was orchestrated as a move to get rid of Richard Frederick. And I can tell you that. Okay? So there are a lot more things. Stay tuned. A lot more things I'm going to be revealing, because we have to expose people for who and what they are. Because a lot of imposters are in the politics of St. Lucia today. And we are seeing them and taking them at face value. And we have to dig deeper, go beneath the skin to find out who and what they really are. And that is going to be done.
Spider, I think I agree with you completely. A big problem that the United Workers' Party, a big mistake we made, is that while we were in government for 5 years, we thought that given Richard's character, that St. Lucians would dismiss most of what he says. And I think we were very wrong about that. And a lot of the lies that he has told.
But you see, the thing is, you knew, some of us knew, I knew that many of the things that you're saying were lies, and we just dismiss it. But did the people know that they were lies? Like you come here this morning with your SSDF document and said that there's a 29,000 whatever at SSDF and so on. I knew that because I was in a position to know that. How many listeners who heard Richard knew that? You have to come and expose them for what they are.
Correct.
You know, you have to do it.
Correct.
You know?
And so, Andre, get used to us coming on your show to debunk all the lies. We have to dismantle the lies. I mean, what I'm laughing at is that he goes on a show and he wants you to account for 29,000. What about all the millions in the cemetery contract that he has not come out and tell us Where did that money go?
Well,
whether those contracts really existed, whether those works really happened, whether those contractors were even real to begin with, or were they just names? What about the issue with his PS and the contractor that is building our house? As a minister, I mean, aren't you concerned about this level of the allegation of deep corruption within your ministry? What about him going to the police and bring information that he said recently? Have you realized, Andre? He said recently that he knew who killed Rush Clark's father. He said that his Rush Clark's mother was implicated in his father's death. You go on TV, you say that. This is one of the extrajudicial killings that was reported in the impact report.
Still unresolved.
Still unresolved. The DPP has not pronounced or given any instructions to arrest anyone. The police has not said that Rush's mother is implicated in her death.
You're wrong on that, Dominic. Let me correct you.
Go ahead.
The DPP, Director of Public Prosecution, has given instructions to arrest. Not on Rush's father.
Rush's father, I'm talking about. Right, on that specific case, the case of, on the murder of Arthur Clark. And so, if that is so, how does Richard Frederick know that with all of these allegations swirling around him? So what I laugh at with the Labour Party is that they will come and tell you Andre stole a microphone from the radio station, and that is going to be a weapon of mass distraction to take our attention away from the billions that is in the CIP. Wayne Gerard, who was the CEO, for example, and the people in the UK who invested over 40 million US dollars, right? Pensioners were robbed on the Freedom Bay project. And you place these sort of people in cabinet. They feel that they can do this with impunity without answering any questions whatsoever. And they believe that, we are wrong for bringing it up. When we bring it up, we are dirty, we are gutter politicians. These are all very important questions, Andre, that the public ought to know. What visa does Richard Frederick has now? Does he have a personal visa, or is it just a diplomatic visa? Is it a one-entry visa? Is it a visa? Has he published a visa so that the people of St. Lucia can see what type of visa? That is important because unprecedentedly, as a minister of government, he had his visa revoked. Now, Andre, that's not you, That's not you. You're talking about someone who is in the highest office of the cabinet, of the executive. And when an executive member has his visa revoked, the Americans don't fool around. They don't play. So he hasn't come out and answered these questions. We have to get them on WikiLeaks, right? We have to read leaked cables from U.S. officials, and then the accusations there suggest that it is money laundering and for drug trafficking. We have to put two and two together. So there's no real accountability. I watched the Prime Minister at the Babonneau Town Hall meeting, and he was talking, I guess he was alluding to Spider. He says, and one of them is reading the impacts report. The impacts report is still relevant with all of these killings that are unsolved in an era of high levels of crime in this country. Look at the recent issue where the lady in Corinth, Miss Barnard, who was gunned down in broad daylight on her way home, leaving 3 children behind. And then you've got a sitting government minister who comes out prior to that and tells us that he has intimate details about one of the extrajudicial killings in the impacts report. Suggests to you, Andre, that this is the most unaccountable government that we've ever seen. This government hates accountability. I'm going to say that on your show.
Remember to say that it is alleged extrajudicial killing, because that hasn't been proven. But it is alleged, and there's a lot of credible evidence to suggest that that is so. And I want to say this, when Richard Frederick El Guapo comes on his show with innuendo and half-truths, because you see, Dominic made a statement that Dr. Anthony quoted the impact report and said that there were politicians, businessmen, maybe not in that order, but politicians, businessmen, police, and police officers who were facilitators of crime.
Correct.
Okay? And so I didn't hear any politician jump up and everything like that. But Dominic said to me, when you throw salt on a frog's back, they do jump. And who jumped? Richard Frederick was the only politician who jumped. He didn't mention Richard's name. You understand what I'm saying? But Richard knows why. And then Richard comes out now. The impact report never said this. And also suggesting he has the impact report. And then he comes and calls him a liar and all kind of vehement, categorical pronunciations and so on. But I went and I read the page of the impact report, and it clearly indicated that there were ministers involved in the whole matter. Not only that, they suggested it, they even gave the initials of a minister, which I'm still trying to find out who that is. Andre, and you might be able to help me. You, as a journalist, you have investigative skills. They referred to an RF, okay, RF. But I'm a little slow. Maybe you know.
The Royal St. Lucia Police Force.
You think so? Okay.
The Royal St. Lucia Police Force would be the name of a government minister at the time.
You know, and they referred to the minister as RF. Now, you know, like I said, I'm a little slow, so I've cleared the air with me. You know, I said my name when I was christened Peter Lenard Montoute. I changed my name to Lenard Spider Montoute. So it's not me. I checked Guy Joseph. You know, he told me he's G-E-J, Guy Eardley Joseph. So I'm still working down the list.
Okay.
So you might be able, you might give me some assistance, Andre. And you want to
did
come,
try.
And you want to come and air and get on, and there was no such thing and so on. And that's why I read the page to indicate that you are a liar. There is, in fact, reference made to government ministers. You understand what I'm saying? And you see, I understand. Now, no, I didn't have access to no impact report. But the prime ministers do have access to impact report. And they have to be responsible. They have to honor the nature of the confidentiality that existed between them and whoever it is that presented the report and so on. But you, Andre, as a reporter, I'm not trying to say I'm a reporter, you know, Andre. I want to one day become one. I suspect that might be my next career.
Because?
You know, I notice, I used to wonder where you all get information from, but you all have your sources, you all have your leaks, you know what I'm saying? So, I'm getting there, Andre. I just have one page already. You understand what I'm saying? And I don't owe it to anybody to hold anything back. I'm going to ask questions, okay? According to a page that was leaked to me, it says XXXXX. I am asking question. Who is RF? You understand what I'm saying? Because there's a damning information in that impact report, okay? That I want Richard, while he denying what Dominic says, to come out and clear the air on them and tell us what it is exactly that he knows. Because we cannot continue. You see, the importance of this is not about only bringing down your opponent to win an election. I am more concerned about the type of country that I live in. That has a lot to do with my safety. Mm-hmm. That has a lot to do with my freedom. That has a lot to do with the environment in which I live. So the people who lead our country, who govern our country, who make laws and determine, it's very important who they are. Because when you have, Andre, I look at your arms there, Andre, yours bigger than mine. If you threaten me there right now, Andre, I'm not sure I would take you on. I run into the police. Mm-hmm. I expect to get protection from the police if you decide to become aggressive with me. Now, when you get in a minister of government, who, though he's not Minister of Home Affairs, he's not Minister of National Security, but has control over the police, okay? And I'm saying so because there's evidence that he does. He showed us files that he said he is getting from the police on you and I, Andre, okay? So, that is a measure of control. You cannot get those files. These are confidential files, okay? He also gave instructions to the city police on air, gave instructions to the commissioner of police on air, and some of those instructions were carried out. That is a lot of control. And you're probably thinking, but you heard me talk about separation of powers. Yes, it's supposed to be. But when that does not happen, you corrupt the whole system, and one man has so much power that he can tell the police, arrest Spider for saying what he said on the show this morning on Media Opposition, and it happens. You know what kind of state you existing in? You know, we cannot allow it to get to that stage. We must expose those things and nip it in the bud before that kind of practice takes root in our country.
Yeah.
And that is what I'm controlling.
Andre, it's like if you know you have stage 1 cancer, and if you do nothing about it, and you allow it to get to stage 4, the cancer will eventually destroy you. That's where we're at in this country. I think that in the case of Richard Frederick, he's a stage 4 cancer that has to be eradicated from our political system. If we don't do that, Andre, then it's going to stymie the possibility of us ever being a great country, the possibility of us ever becoming safe again, the possibility of us eradicating the crime situation in the country, eradicating corruption, going back to the days of good, clean governance so that we can focus on driving the country forward. Now,
But I have a good question. What if the people actually want him?
Well, they may want him if they do not know the facts. But if after the facts have been laid out there and they still want him, then take what you get. Because that's a choice you make now. You've chosen that is the kind of country you want to live in. You know? I'll say goodbye to you all, Andre. I'll find somewhere else to live. You know what I'm saying?
But you see, and that's where your job as a media person comes in, is to make sure that you're giving factual, clear information. There are a lot of media people who don't want to touch the impacts report. There are a lot of them, the convenient thing is for them to leave it alone. It's for them to say, oh, that's been so many years ago. But these murders are still unsolved. There's still people, characters from the former Stephenson King administration that is still walking around. There's Spider mentioned that one of them, the initial is RF, that was mentioned in the report. And then, RF could be anybody, right? But RF singles out and points clearly to a specific individual. And we don't know whether that specific individual is sitting in this government now, right? But that's an important question that we must ask. That's an important question that should concern all of us. It is so crucial that we dismantle his lies, we expose the character of every politician. Andre, like you have seen today, wherever a question is asked about anything that I have had to give stewardship to, I can come out. Anybody can haul me before any committee and ask me about any contract, anything I've been responsible for. My private life, it's all out there. Okay? One of the lies Richard Frederick spoke about was me impregnating a 16-year-old girl several years ago. I'm sure you believe that, right? Because I never came out and said, well, it's not true. Right?
Even if you didn't believe it, you would wonder because you didn't deny it.
Because I didn't deny it, right? I just thought it was nonsense. But it's absolute crap. And now that I've said on another radio station that it's absolute crap, he moved away from that now. His new thing is, he stole money from the ambulance fund. So these are weapons of mass destruction. And people, when they are trying to remove the attention away from themselves, what they do, Andre, is that they come and they put all kinds of smoke screens. And I've looked at Richard Frederick. He never answers any of the questions as it pertains to his own stewardship, his own character, which is on the line. Do you know, for example, that he has a gun offense? Do you know, for example, that a judge would have instituted a restraining order for him against a certain woman after he would have physically abused that person? Do you know all of this? There are so many things pertaining to this individual that we cannot allow him to distract us. We cannot allow him to turn attention away from himself. He goes on TV, for example, and boast about what he does with a young girl. I mean, what kind of nonsense is that?
Andre,
how do you allow a guy? The guy attacks me to say I have autism. I mean, that sort of disrespect to the entire autism community. I don't have autism, but I'd rather be autistic than to be Richard Frederick any day, Andre. So we are in a really precarious position.
Let me sum up the situation to all of you. Okay, I have made certain statements about Richard Frederick of late. Okay, I have made certain statements about Richard Frederick of late. I have made certain statements about many politicians over the years. I have said things about my opponent, like about Dr. Kenny Anthony, about nobody ever called me. They'll probably call me and ask me, is that true, is that whatever? But when I make statements about Richard Frederick, people call me, boy, be careful, that one put a hit on you and that kind of thing. What does that say? What does that say about that individual? That people are scared of you and feel if they say anything about you, you'll put a hit on them? Well, you know what, Andre? I am not scared of him, okay? I know, and I know just as much as those people who are calling me do, and some more, okay? And I will not be silenced. And I can tell you that for sure. I will not be silenced. And don't think I'm just playing brave or I'm just seeking to be any matter, You understand what I'm saying? I know exactly who and what I'm dealing with, okay? It has to be exposed and someone has to do it, okay? It is about time that we clean up the politics of St. Lucia, okay? And you see Dominic comes there with the next 5 years and so on. Andre, you can come afterwards and make up for it. But when you make this country become a country of anarchy and people slaughtering people, where you have ethnic wars and racial wars and wars based on the... That's irreversible, Andre. Even if you come later on and you have to... It's true, more war, you have to clean that up, You understand what I'm saying? Because those are the kind of guys who will have a one-party state and you cannot change them and all that kind of thing. St. Lucians, I hope you all realize that's where we're heading if we allow these things to take root. You understand? And I'm not going to be a part of a country like this. And when you have individuals who feel they can threaten people and whatever, why? Because you have boys and you have gangs and you have anything like that? Well, let me just say something to you, Andre. Bad is not written on anybody's forehead, Bad is not written on anybody's forehead. And there are many big men and bad men who have fallen in all their badness. They have fallen. Okay? And the time has come for some of them to meet their end. Okay? Their reign has to come to an end. And that is what it is. And I know they will go to great lengths to try to prevent that. But it is going to happen. And I'm just saying to the Labour Party again, you all have knowingly embraced someone that you all have described to us, told us about his character. You all went as far as saying he's a money launderer, a drug dealer, and a murderer. But yet still, the Prime Minister handpicked him and has him in his cabinet. And he is doing all the destruction that he's doing. They're intimidating people, scaring people, frightening people in this country. Okay? They are going to pay the price for having done that. And the entire Labour Party will be coming down. And just as Richard claimed that he was chiefly responsible for their victory, he is going to be chiefly responsible for their demise. Mark my words. I've said it several times, and I've even told my UWP friends that after it happens, I want them to call me Prophet Spider.
Prophet Spider?
Yeah. It's going to happen.
I want you to clarify something else, something that has come up repeatedly on this show concerning the current Prime Minister taking some suggestions that your party made to him as regards solving, at least helping to address the crime problem. And again, I heard Nancy say that he took the suggestions and he threw it in a dustbin or something like that.
Well, he said that he did that.
Right. Now, that's the thing. People are still questioning whether he really did say it because there's nothing to support.
Well, he said it publicly.
He made public statements about it.
He said it publicly.
He said that the opposition is not serious about crime, and he threw it in the bin. And he said that whenever we prove that we're serious, that he will throw it in the bin.
But
he has.
But where is that evidence? I've never heard it or seen it.
It's on record, Andre. I'll make an effort to get it, because if people want the actual proof of it, then we'll have to provide it. Okay, I don't have the evidence, the proof of it, I must confess, but that can be found. It was said publicly, Because, you see, at the end of the day, we initially, realizing the crime situation, credit to the leader of the opposition, recognizing that's a national issue, and it's not only labor rights that are being murdered, UWPs too. In fact, whether labor right, UWP or independent, murders were taking place in St. Lucia. People were dying, and all of us were in danger. He, along with his men, Dominic and those guys, they met and they submitted some suggestions, and he said he threw it in the dustbin. He came out later and publicly admitted that he was helpless and that he would accept
Yes.
advice from anybody. So
That I remember.
The UWP resubmitted the thing, you know. And then he come out and say, oh, this guy's not serious and whatever. Even suggest that some of us are praying every morning for murders to take place.
Imagine that ridiculous statement.
But Dominic, you said you heard him say it. So
Yes.
can you
I heard
recall
him say it.
exactly where he said it? What forum?
Oh, the
Was it a
press
public
briefing?
meeting?
Might have been a press briefing, for sure. But it's been reported widely on the news. Yeah? But what Spider has raised is the most ridiculous statement I've ever heard coming from a head of state to suggest that the opposition is waking up every day praying that there will be crime. Andre, I have children that go to the schools in this country. My mother is still alive. I have nieces, nephews, my brother and his wife. I care about all those people's safety. I care about when they say that they're going to a nightly event, that they come back safely. I mean, for the Prime Minister to say some garbage like that, it's absolutely ridiculous.
And you see, the thing is, Andre, when we express concern, you cannot try to turn it around and make it sound like we are saying so because we are concerned. You know, and we want something to be done about it, and you are responsible for doing something about it. And it's about time that you do something about it. Because you see, at the end of the day, I always say so, the Prime Minister has bodyguards around him, you know. He's guarded around the clock. I am not. You understand what I'm saying? I am not. And I am concerned about the amount of money that I have to put into my own security, effort and energy that I have to put into my own security. And then when I grew up, there were cameras. We didn't have a camera at our home to take a picture. Now I need cameras all around my house and all of that kind of thing. I have a little business. I have to get security. I have to get cameras. I have to get all of that. When that money can go into investing in enhancing my business, you understand what I'm saying? That's an additional unnecessary expense. And I grew up in a house where how many louvers were missing in the front window? You understand what I'm saying? My mother just put a plastic curtain there so that when the rain is beating, it won't come in. You know how we had one key to the front door, and the key was always in the front door. I pushed my hand through the missing louver, unlock the door and go inside, you know. You know what I'm saying? That was it. There are people I know who had those other wooden doors. They go to castries, they go to wherever, put a piece of wood or a block or something just to hold the door, to keep it closed, so that maybe the dogs don't go in or the rain doesn't come in and so on. Those were the days that I knew. I'm not suggesting to you with modernization as time passes that things won't change. But I mean, it's changed so drastically that soon from now, all of us will want to be investing in a bulletproof vest. Because if we're walking down the street, we're afraid that a stray bullet hit us. I mean, that's the kind of life I want to live, you know. And these are the things these are serious concerns. That's not politics to me, you know, Andre. That's not politics to me because I don't want the UWP to just use that to win an election when they come. It's business as usual. I want to see them do something about it because I'm concerned about my safety. And I'm a Muslim, I don't stay in a house, you know. I want to be able to go out. You understand what I'm saying? I want to lime, I want to go out, and I don't care about what hour it is. You understand what I'm saying? I want to be free to roam. I want to be free to go to parties, visit my friends, go anywhere. I just take my vehicle sometimes, Andre. That's why I have a Samurai, and just drive to anywhere. You understand what I'm saying? I want the liberty to do that. And that's why I said to you the other day, Andre, freedom means a lot of things, you know. It's not only when you're in prison, you're not free. You know, we can be out here, but not free. You understand?
But Andre, I want to ask you a question. Why do you think the Prime Minister would have had such a strong embrace of Richard Frederick despite the protestations that would have come from his former boss, Dr. Kenny Anthony?
It was his whole team, including him. They said all kind of things about Richard. Let's not forget that.
Why do you think this backtrack?
You know?
Well, as I said earlier, maybe the people want Richard.
No, but
so
okay, so I want to ask you another
if the people
question.
want Richard, obviously,
So
if he's on the team, if he's on the team,
if you know that your son, who is 5 years old, wants cigarettes or alcohol, but you as the father, in your better judgment, you have a lot more information about cigarettes, alcohol, are you going to let him have it?
well, that's a 5-year-old.
That's a 5-year-old. I got you. Okay. But Andre, I am not in the Labour Party's camp, but this is the biggest hypocrisy I've ever seen in politics. I have seen, it's on record, Philip J. Pierre, the Prime Minister, who's now the Prime Minister in opposition, said that a Labour Party would never entertain a drug dealer. And he was making reference to Richard Frederick. They said on the platform that he was the most frightening thing to have happened to the politics of the country. They said that he was a money launderer. I mean, the accusations were wild. There were several questions that were asked of Richard Frederick while he was entering the political fray in 2006. I mean, the Carbonaire, Kenny Anthony, De Turville, even Philip J. Pierre did ask him many questions which still remain unanswered today, which is why I find the discussion so interesting, in that while, you know, Spider and Nancy were talking about public officials having to account, these came to mind. And there are such a slew of allegations and questions that have been raised that Richard Frederick has told the nation nothing about. But the speculation is there. The feeling, the perception is widely viewed that there are several question marks around the character of this individual. Now, to then haul him into a cabinet, the United Workers' Party did them a favor when we expelled Richard Frederick. And that's why I think that Alan Chastanet, the people of St. Lucia owe Alan Chastanet a tremendous debt, because he had the tremendous courage to expel Richard Frederick from the United Workers' Party. And it was supported by delegates up and down the country overwhelmingly that Richard wasn't fit for the United Workers' Party. We felt, having looked at the character, that winning an election is not as important as ensuring that you put sound people in government to govern the country and to lead the country in a direction of prosperity, into progress.
But
let me,
Mr. Montoute and Dominic, isn't that the way politics works?
Okay,
let me finish. Isn't that the way it works? It's all about winning an election, right? And if it means that someone has to...
No. It's not all about winning an election. No.
If, for example, Mr. Montoute, you are the leader of the party and you feel that you are strong enough to control somebody who may be a wayward child, right? But that wayward child is popular with the people. The people want him or her, just like you have Donald Trump. Okay? And there's a very high probability that if that person is part of the camp, that you will win the election. Isn't that what it's all about?
No, it's not all about that. Andre, no, it's not all about that.
No,
all. You have a sacred responsibility to make sure that you make decisions that are in the best interest of the country. Now,
even if you may lose the election.
Even if you may lose the election. And I have seen...
I agree.
I'm telling you.
Because Alan Chastanet made decisions that cost him popularity and support.
Exactly.
During COVID, he did. But it was in the best interest of the people and the country, and he did it. But let me respond to what you said.
But what about when Dr. Kenny Anthony introduced VAT? And he said, I remember him saying he will do it even if he may pay the price.
Right, because he believed, which I didn't share the view, but at least he believed that would be in the interest of the country.
That's right.
So that is a principled position. So I'm saying,
but it cost him,
and it cost him, yes.
And you have to at times.
But when you go the other way, as the present Prime Minister has gone, it will cost the country. It will cost all of us. Because let me just say something to you. You said to me, but if he's popular and so on, let's not forget, people of Castries Central voted Richard Frederick as their parliamentary representative. That only gives him a certain amount of power. The power that he has now as a member of cabinet, the people who are actually making decisions in this country, the privilege he has and the access he has as a member of cabinet, the Prime Minister gave it to him. Let us not forget that. Okay? And so I want to, like while Dominic was speaking, he talked about credit to Alan Chastanet, and I've always said it, credit to Alan Chastanet. That he had the courage.
You say the Prime Minister gave him?
Yes.
How did he do that?
The Prime Minister is the one who selects the cabinet.
So by giving him a ministry, that's what you're saying?
Yes.
That gave him
Yes.
now the
he wasn't
power?
Isn't even a member of his party, but he handpicked him and put him in his office and made him a member of cabinet. So it's the Prime Minister that has imposed him on St. Lucia. Because at the end of the day, Richard, as the parliamentary rep for Castries, has no jurisdiction over Gros Islet or anywhere else in St. Lucia. And he does not have the power that a member of cabinet has. Okay? Philip J. Pierre is the one who gave it to him. So now he has access to your information that he can come on television and so on. He can give directions and instructions to the police and all of that. Philip J. Pierre is the one who handpicked him to be able to do those things.
Andre, I can tell you, a candidate of dodgy reputation should never ever be presented to the electorate. And I can tell you, I'm very proud of the candidate selection process which the United Workers' Party has just gone through. And I have seen that we're very, and Spider is on a special committee, and he can tell you the rigors they've gone through to look and do background checks on individuals. Individuals that are where their carbuncles are less pronounced than the individual that we're talking about. And if there are red flags that would have come up about that individual's character, the United Workers' Party that I know now would say we're not having that person to represent us. We're not going to present that person to the people of St. Lucia. And trust me, within people that have applied or people that we knew that were interested, right, we would have said no way, right? I know in one or two instances where we discouraged individuals from applying because we let them know, no way, you're not going to make it, because there were concerns about that person's past or history or something. Look, we were a government that took the inconvenient decision while in government. And tell me where this has ever happened. It has happened with Sir John Compton it has happened with Sir John Compton. But when in recent history has it happened where a prime minister has fired two of his ministers because he felt that there were things that these individuals would have done that would have violated the professional ministerial code? And that's the people we are. And I know it's very difficult because most people are distrusting of politicians. You put on a political cloak and people see you as,
corrupt.
No longer nice Andre anymore. If you put on a red or yellow shirt tomorrow, then people start to deal with you differently, even though they've known you for years. That's the reality. But notwithstanding that, you must do everything possible to make sure that you present good quality candidates to the people.
I want to bring back the question in another roundabout way. Maybe then you might understand where I'm coming from. Okay. You have, I'm talking about winning at all costs, right?
No, you don't win at all costs.
All right. Okay. All right. So you have the leader of the party who's a highly principled person, highly principled, right? Uncompromising, honest, somebody of integrity and so on. But he ran an election and he lost. Another one he lost. The party isn't doing good, right? Would you? I think you know where I'm coming from already. Yes. Would you keep him there?
No,
because if winning is not everything, just keep him there.
It says something about the psyche of your people and the mentality, how they operate. It is your job as a leader to instruct, educate, and inform your people for them to make the right decisions and the right choices. Now, the kind of leaders we have now are going the opposite direction. Because let me just say something to you. Because of what I'm saying now, and I'm substantiating the things that I'm saying, so when I talk about Richard Frederick, it's no secret to the Labour Party, but they will unleash him. He'll come on his program. And Spider, Lopo, kidnapping, and so on. I'm not afraid of that. I've addressed that, and I will address that anytime that is required. You understand what I'm saying? That matter is a matter that has been ventilated, that has gone through the system. My name was never mentioned in any court about it. But you have a minister, and the kind of allegations and accusations that exist about him, I am telling you, Philip Pierre is aware of it. Okay, because the documents that have been leaked to me were not leaked to him. He have them in his possession legitimately. Okay, and even before he was Prime Minister, he had access to it. He was Dr. Kenny Anthony's deputy. Now, I'm sure. Now, that is a betrayal of Dr. Anthony, There's a man who says that Richard Frederick is the most frightening thing to enter in politics. He said he's not going to have any kidnapper, murderer, whatever in his cabinet and so on.
But isn't that what politicians
And
do?
the man, no, but he never did. He never invited Richard to serve in his cabinet. And his successor, who was his second.
What I'm saying, one time you could have people who are deadly enemies, and in another era they're the best of friends.
That is fine.
Politicians make strange bedfellows. That's what they say.
You're talking about people changing political allegiance. That's not what we're talking about.
We're talking
about toxic, deadly, corrupt people who can impact the future of the country in a negative way in terms of people's lives, people's freedom, and so on. Andre, people are afraid to talk about Richard Frederick. Why? People say all kinds of things about Alan Chastanet, all kinds of things about Kenny Anthony. Okay? They said all kinds of things about Dominic, all kinds of things about me with impunity. Okay? And when you put yourself in politics, that's what you get. Okay? Why are people afraid to talk about Richard Frederick? The person who there is the most to talk about. Why? You know? You want to have someone like that as part of your government using his position. The worst thing about it, blatantly, openly using his position to abuse people, to threaten people, to expose people. What kind of country? I mean, you're telling me we want to accept that in our country? We have a prime minister who condones that, a party, the St. Lucia Labour Party. That's what you all have been reduced to. You're condoning it. You know what I'm saying?
But you know, Andre, there's one thing. There's one thing.
Dominic, and I think you'll have to pay for 3 hours now because it's time to wrap up.
So Andre, a quick one for you. There's one thing we can disagree in economics. We can disagree in the education policy. We can disagree in agricultural policy. But when it comes to character of the candidates, the St. Lucia Labour Party said, while Richard was in the UWP, that he had he was the most frightening thing to have happened to politics. They said that he was a drug dealer. They said he was a money launderer. When his visa was revoked and the government of the UWP, of which Spider was a part of, said that they didn't know. The St. Lucia Labour Party said they did know what the reasons were. It is clear, Andre, it is documented that Stephenson King...
On top of what Dominic is saying there, just now, Dominic, on top of what you're saying there, a local bank, a bank of St. Lucia...
closes his account.
Closes the man's account.
While he's a sitting government minister.
You know, why?
So those are not...
We're not asking ourselves those questions?
Yeah.
Why?
So those are not... I mean, the guy has a convicted...
You know, I have to give Dr. Anthony his credit. He warned us. I have to give Compton his credit. He warned us. I have to give Chastanet his credit. He's having no part of it. I have a problem with Stephenson King, who has not done enough. He has made some efforts, but he has not done enough because he seems to be compromised now, so he's going along. And the current Prime Minister, who has saddled St. Lucia with that situation, which is a very dangerous situation that we are in this country.
Sorry, but we have to wrap
Andre.
up.
So, Andre, let me just say that I want to thank all my viewers and listeners. I mean, we didn't open the lines today because we had...
I was asking the questions.
But we still got a lot of questions. I'm sure Andre represented a lot of the questions that you would have asked. I'm happy that we had Dominic here today to come and actually answer to the allegations that were made about him as a public figure. I commend him for that, and I hope other public figures will take example from that. And I want to thank you for being on the program today, Dominic, because you went beyond that and added quite a bit to the program. I want to thank Nancy Charles, who the regular host who called in at the top of the program. I want to thank all of you who are listening on Rev Up St. Lucia 97.1, and as well those who are following on live stream, whether you're in the diaspora or in St. Lucia. I want to thank you, and I hope that the information that you get, you take it seriously, you sift it, you analyze it, you evaluate it, and you make wise decisions for the benefit of your children and the future of this country.
Spider, someone is asking if you posted the impact report online so that they could read it.
I asked the Prime Minister to do that. He has access to it. But I will, whatever is leaked to me, I will expose it because I think the public of St. Lucia need to know. So I am asking you, caller, or whoever send the message, so you can join me on Monday night at 8 o'clock for Like It Is, where a lot more will be revealed. And I want to ask you to stay tuned and join us on the 2nd of March in Dennery South at Lakai, where the UWP will be having a massive rally. And for me, the most important thing, never mind all the important things Dominic might come to say, the most important thing for me is the fact that they're going to be presenting a slate of men and women with integrity, with credibility, with character that will save us from the dangerous situation that we are facing with the St. Lucia Labour Party and a Prime Minister like Philip Japia. So I want to thank you and have a good day.
Thank you, Dominic. Thank you, Mr. Lenard Spider Montoute. Thank you so much. You've been listening to Meet the Opposition, heard on Rev Up St. Lucia every Thursday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Thanks for listening and thanks for viewing, those of you on Facebook. Well, this is the end of my stint here for today, Thursday, the 20th of February. We have Kina coming on next. She'll be with you until 3 this afternoon. From 3 o'clock is going to be Zen the DJ until 6. So Andre Paul wishing you a great day, and God willing, join me tomorrow morning, same time, 5 o'clock for another Wake Up and Live. So long.